Hi, I'm Chris. I was thinking about some of the more screwed up situations I have been placed in D&D, and I was chilling back with one of my friends yesterday, and we were just, talking about all the games that we had been in, and he really helped jog my memory on some of the stuff that we've been in. But today we're going to talk about the story of the ghost. And so I was playing in this campaign, and the campaign had ran for like a year or two. It had been a really long campaign, and you're gonna hear a lot of stories from this campaign because there was a lot of very interesting things that had happened. And one of the interesting things about this campaign was that it was brutal, and every single game session was like a fight for our lives. I don't, I have no recollection of any real easy fights. I mean, granted, we took fights that should have been a massive bloodshed on our part, and we had a fairly understanding GM when it came to us being creative in our and how we handled certain encounters. And if we came up with a really good idea, he'd always reward it. And this is one of the reasons why I'm kind of the same way. If you have a really good idea, I'm always gonna have your back on it as a GM, because you if I found as a GM, if you stunt someone's creativity, they'll stop being creative. If a player has a good idea, decent idea, or an okay idea, if it doesn't have some type of fruition to it, then they're going to stop having these ideas. I'll go into that in another video one of these days. But for now, we're going to talk about the ghost. And so, for whatever reason it was, we had to go on this mission, and we had to go into this old manor. And there was no indication that there were ghosts in it beforehand. For whatever reason, we ended up having to go in there. And it was like, it was like the House of the Dead, or like the House of a Thousand Corpses. And it's just this from opening the doors and systematically going through this house was one massive encounter after another. And so we're beaten down. So we finally get to the boss encounter, and this is the kicker. So we go into this room, and the doors magically seal and lock us in there. And so we're all in this room, and then several ghosts appear, and like all this army of zombies and skeletons raise to combat us, and we are screwed. We're like level 4 at this time, and I don't know if it was just oversight of the GM, but he didn't give us any hint that we were going to be fighting any undead. He didn't give us any hint that we were going to be fighting anything like this, and so, and he hadn't distributed any magical items at this time, and so we didn't have anything. We didn't have any +1 weapons, and we didn't have any silver weapons. And see, the thing about ghosts, for those of you that don't know this, if you don't have a +1 weapon, you're at least in this version, your weapon would just pass harmlessly through the ghost. And so you needed like a +1 weapon, or you needed a silver weapon, or you needed fire or holy damage, or something to that effect and everything if you wanted to actually damage the ghost. So everybody pretty much starts focusing on the the undead, because we can dispatch those. And Kincaid starts launching like he used to do the one where you put the thumb in the fire that would shoot out of his hands. God, I forgot the name of that spell. But he was an evoker, and his emphasis was on fire. But by the time we had gone to this point of the game, we had already been through this entire like manor, and I want to say it was like 3 stories tall, and we had pretty much blew his spell clip by this point. And so the only person that could do damage at this point was Kincaid and Kane our cleric. So Kincaid being our evoker, Kane being our cleric, and Kane had spent the vast majority of his spells healing us. And he did his turn on dead, and when you have a room that's full of a bunch of zombies and skeletons along with it and everything, you're not getting to the hit dice of the ghost. That's just not happening. And so he just his spell. And now this is 2nd edition skills of power combat and tactics, and so he's trying to turn these undead, and it's pretty much ineffectual what he's trying to do, and he doesn't have any other spells, and nobody wants to take and put your hands on a ghost and and try and cast Cure Light Wounds, on a creature that can level drain you. And those of you that don't know what level draining is you progress in the game and you gain levels. And so, hint, nudge, nudge, level draining is losing those levels. And so every time the creature successfully touches you in a touch attack, you have to make a saving throw. And if you fail that saving throw, your character goes down a level and de-levels. And now this would be a great story if I could come out and say, man, we made it through this entire counter and nobody was level drained. But I'd be lying. I actually came out the best because I was only level drained one time, and at the time I was playing a paladin, and so I had some pretty baller stats when it came to saves. And man, this is how desperate we had gotten in this game. We had literally resorted, and I can't remember which character did it, but we had resorted to breaking a chair, breaking it down to tinder, starting a fire, making torches, and finding the ghost with makeshift torches. And I'll tell you what, that took a few rounds, and there were several characters that were knocked down to level 1, and my character was knocked down to level 3, and subsequently the characters that were knocked down to level 1, the encounter, when you divvied out XP, leveled them back up to level 2. However, we had several characters that went from level 4 right back down to in the end was level 2. And we're talking about a brutal fight. And this encounter, we were supposed to get through a lot of other stuff, and this encounter was not supposed to be near as difficult as it was. And that was it for that day. We ended up spending like round after round after round after round, and just trying to kill these ghosts. And I want to say they had like 25 to 38 hit points somewhere in there. So it wasn't a massive amount of hit points, It just, our weapons were ineffectual against them, and we didn't have any spells. Until we got fire into the game, we literally couldn't do anything, and they were just whopping us. But that's my ghost story. I'm sure you guys got stories like that too. But leave any comments below if there's something you like to hear about, or something you want to hear talked about. Lily, what are you doing? Come here, honey. Oh my God, come here. Oh, honey. I know. I know. What are you doing? Okay. All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace.